making time for us.
Thank you so much, Nassim. Thank you. And thank you to the California Greens. Thank you to everyone for being here. And thank you to all the organizers for this really important event. Important for harnessing the incredible, mind-boggling potential of this moment, and especially to consider how we harness this for the long term. Many of us have been through this before. For myself, this is time number 3. And what should we say? The powers that be do not want to see us translating the energy and the momentum and the excitement of what goes on in these campaigns into a lasting vehicle for continuing to build for an America and a world that works for all of us, which is kind of our overarching rallying cry this time around, very similar and very much the same as our organizing and building for people, planet, and peace over profit. These are essentially one and the same. And this is definitely the time to be doing it, as we all saw in that incredible debacle. It wasn't a debate, it was a debacle that happened the other night that just made so clear these are zombie candidates operating within a zombie political party that is serving empire, oligarchy, and the forces of genocide, basically, and the forces of climate catastrophe. We face, converging existential crises right now. And what we saw going on in that debacle was, sort of an adolescent food fight, a bully in the schoolyard, and a kind of, incompetent, not well, frail elder. And like, what a staggering thing it is that that's the best that our current political system could come up with, which is no surprise, and which is why we very much need to be seizing the moment. We're in a perfect storm right now for political transformation. So I'm just going to give a very quick report on some of the very fun and exciting things that are happening right now. We've seen an explosion of interest, I'd say, in general, especially compelled by the all-out crisis, the tragedy, and the horror of what's taking place in Gaza, the emergency of this genocide, the fact that 1 million lives are on the line right now, at risk, very much at risk, and in fact, undergoing starvation, but at risk for death by starvation just in the course of the next couple of weeks. So many of us, I think, just feel that as an absolute compelling emergency that really energizes this campaign, because, as you all know, we are the only anti-genocide, anti-war, pro-worker climate emergency campaign on track to be on the ballot for most voters. And in fact, currently, we already are on the ballot for a majority of voters, which is why we meet the main technical requirement to be in the debates. We should be in the debates. But, thanks to the incredible work of the state Green parties across the country, we began this race with a majority, actually, of voters already represented on the ballot. And we've continued to increase that number. And we are fighting to get on every ballot that we possibly can. But the bottom line is we are the only option. There are other progressive voices out there, but they are mostly in small states or a handful of states. They're not in a position to truly challenge empire by way of being on the ballot for most voters, having the potential to actually win a majority in the Electoral College. And we have that theoretical possibility. We actually have the possibility as well, I'd say, to, in fact, win the office, because there will be 3 genocidal, pro-war, anti-worker campaigns on the ballot that will be splitting the pro-war, pro-genocide vote. The pro-genocide vote will be basically split between Trump, Biden, and RFK, and we will be the only anti-genocide campaign. So depending on how things divide up, a four-way race can be won with as little as 26% of the vote. Currently, we are running, in national polls anywhere from 1 to 4%. But if you look at age group 35 and under, we're more like, I think most recently, 6%, if I recall correctly, from this recent New York Times poll, which is like amazing for us to be breaking through prior to, any real mainstream media attention. But in Wisconsin, we're at 22%, age 35 and under. And in the state of Maine, actually for the whole population, we are at, I believe it's 6% now. So we're beginning to see areas of breakthrough, and breakthrough especially for young people who really show us which way the wind is blowing and which way things are going, for all kinds of reasons. But this is huge. We do have the potential to make an incredible impact. And just as another case in point here, in the aftermath of the debate, we had a whole slew of interviews that were requested suddenly from the likes of The Hill Rising, News Nation, this morning from the Washington Post. And for the most part, these were fair interviews, which really did give us a real hearing and reflects that there's incredible desperation out there now, especially with this, demonstration of what our current candidates look like and what the current political system looks like. Not to mention, that we're facing absolute all-out crises basically in every dimension of our lives: crushing inequality, climate collapse, endless war, increasingly going up the escalation ladder towards nuclear war, and fascism. We don't have to wait for Donald Trump for fascism. We can see in the in the assault of police on our right to free speech, on the right to demonstrate for redress of grievances, in particular to protest the genocide. We see the brutal police suppression that the African American community has always known. It's really now generalizing in a way that is quite a wake-up call. And we see the cop cities, which are also spreading, and the damage being done by them is spreading, along with this this program that transfers military equipment to local police. So the bottom line, is that this really is a perfect storm for organizing. In fact, it's such a perfect storm that we see now the Democrats really striking back. Empire is striking back in a way that reflects how really terrified it is, how much it knows its days are numbered. In fact, the Washington Post reporter that I was speaking to this morning actually told me that he was informed by a Democratic pollster that, in fact, the Democrats are much more frightened of our campaign than they are of RFK's, although RFK gets all the attention. I think that is very specifically because they are very much afraid of what we're about, because we are not a one act of resistance. We've been here for 2 decades and more. We really have state parties like what you represent in California and other states around the country. We really are a force to contend with. We defy the usual principle that non-corporate political parties are usually over and done with within 10 years. Whether you consider the Labor Party, which was founded at the time that we were, with a whole lot more infrastructure and funding, they were gone in about 10 years. The PSL, I'm sorry, not PSL, Peace and Freedom. Peace and Freedom is still here, and doing great work, often, in collaboration with us. But Peace and Freedom was beaten back from a party of national stature to being a party largely in one state. There might be a second state, but any non-corporate political party that has actually threatened empire to where we've been a presence on the national stage, the socialist parties, for example, of the early 1900s, absolutely beaten back to where they have a city councilor or two across the nation. But we are regularly smear campaigned, fear campaigned, targeted, assassinated, have FBI stings mounted against us. I include the Panthers, the Black Panthers party as well. We are very much under assault, and it is really to the credit of the Greens that we have been able to last, but we're pretty unique in that. So when people talk about us being a weak party or a dysfunctional party, it's very important to say compared to what, compared to all the other independent non-corporate parties that have ever been attempted and have basically been wiped off the map. So, we are strong. Then again, we are up against incredible resistance. And that's what I briefly wanted to mention before we open up to a couple of questions, which is that we're now doing so well that the Democrats are pulling out all the stops. They announced back in March that they would be hiring an army of lawyers to try to throw us off the ballot because they are terrified of having to compete with us in the court of public opinion, to actually have to debate us or even face us. For us even to be mentioned is actually terrifying to them. So they have their army of lawyers, which they are now putting to work. And this is actually progress for us. The Gandhi's saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Well, we're now definitely in the fight you stage. And they are, in fact, taking us to court where they never have before. They've interfered with our ballot drives, forever. But now, once we get on the ballot, they're actually suing us to get us off the ballot. And in Nevada, for example, where we submitted 3 times the number of signatures required, they are now they have filed for a court injunction to block us. We were already approved for being on the ballot in Nevada, and the Democrats, in all their wisdom, have filed an injunction to try to stop us. So we have hired an attorney, and we're going to bat here. When Ralph Nader was running for president, I think this was in 2004, they sued him to get him off the ballot in 20 states simultaneously. He had that many lawsuits going on at once. So actually, this isn't so new, but this is new in the post-Nader era, that we have been that much of a threat that they are now, pulling out all the legal stops, conducting lawfare against us to throw us off the ballot. This is a sign of progress. They are also now advertising for infiltrators and spies, and a position that would manage their infiltrators and spies. This isn't just one that they're recruiting. They're recruiting, a higher level manager, whom they offer $65,000 a year to manage all their infiltrators and spies. So we now have evidence of what some of us have long suspected, which is that, in fact, they do infiltrate, and some of that so-called dysfunction that you always hear about in Green parties and some of the factionalization, we now have to really consider, is this actually a faction, or is this, in fact, an infiltrating group which has a job to do here? So it causes a whole new level of kind of thinking and strategizing for how we move ahead in the face of this absolute sabotage, which we now have, evidence of. And then further, this is the latest wrinkle. We have qualified for matching funds, and we submitted our application, a month or 2 months back, something like that. But it only just got approved. So we are now approved, which is absolutely amazing and great news. There's $270,000 now, which they said is rightfully ours. However, they then also said, oh, and by the way, we don't think we can give this to you until the general election, which leaves us very high and dry. And so I just do want to mention that if you want to see this campaign live to fight another day, we have basically $270,000 worth of debt that we expected to be able to start paying now. and we can't. So we're now having to go to court or whatever to get these funds released. And our ballot drives will grind to a halt. And instead of being on the ballot for nearly all voters, we will only be on the ballot for a bare majority of voters. But that's all the difference in the world when you're actually challenging empire. So I just want to put out that if anyone has spare change, we desperately need that urgently in order to maintain the momentum of the campaign and to remember where this is coming from. This is coming from, the Democrats who are doubling down because we are an incredible threat. If we want to maintain that threat, which is a threat of a sustainable future, a threat of an economy that works for working people, the threat of a climate we can survive in. That's what the threat is to the empire. If we want to build on that, we more than ever need your support, like within the next 24 hours. We badly need your help so that we can continue this battle, pay our existing debts, and continue a ballot access fight. Otherwise, we are going to grind to a halt, and we're going to have to basically nix our ongoing ballot drives. So it's absolutely critical. This is like a 4-alarm fire now. We're sounding the alarm and really appealing for an urgent infusion of cash, whatever you can dig deep to help with. Now is the most critical time for us to continue building and fulfill the promise of this moment, and to understand that this whole new threat is basically about our being more powerful, having greater momentum than we ever have. If we want to continue that, we badly need your support now more than ever. Down the line, it won't be so important, but right now, to meet the schedule of ballot access, it's really critical. So that's, the main news that I wanted to share, that we really are moving forward now. We're actually going gangbusters here. And I'm really delighted that Sean and Patrick are going to be a part of this as well, to talk specifically about how to translate this momentum, even if it's just the momentum that we have right now. How do we turn that into permanent growth for the party? Let me turn it back to you, Nasim, to just advise what do we want to do with the last 5 minutes that we have here, and I'll turn it over to you. Do we want to do Q&A? How would you like to handle this little bit of discretionary time?
Thank you so much for having that really updates around the campaign. It's so important that we are all aware of these shenanigans and these strategies that used to be behind closed doors. And that's what's amazing, is it is now in front of everyone's eyes, as if that debate wasn't enough. There are a couple of questions we have dropped in the chat. Please do drop your questions in the chat. As you know, we're coming up to the half hour. We had claimed of Jill's time. I know she's busy giving lots of interviews where we really more people get to hear her. We are the choir. She knows that we are in huge support of her. There is a about implementing campaign actions to target Latinos in California. I'd love to have Patrick address that a little bit later. And also, Regina wanted to know, who do we contact to request money to be released now? Is there an action, a specific action that you can tell us? I know raising donations is huge because you need those lawyers to go do these actions, but is there a petition coming up? Is there something that we could be trying to spread the word about?
We hope soon, but right now we're in the very first phases of investigating this. So we have a terrific lawyer who's working with us on this. Oliver Hall is actually working with us on this right now. And, he and I have spent years fighting the FEC. So this is very familiar turf for us. And many thanks to all the people who supported us in that fight. Every bit of that fight is being put to work right now because we are so much more familiar with all the minutia and all this like mountain of details that the FEC tries to confuse everybody with. We've had plenty of experience dealing with this, but we're just at the first phase because they've basically thrown a whole new regulation at us that we never heard of before. They're saying they can't give this money until the general election. Well, we've gotten it twice before. We never heard of this rule. So what's going on? But, you know, it's too soon to know. So we don't yet have a pressure campaign. But what we do have is an urgent financial need that we've got to fill. We can't meet payroll. You know, we were really stretched very thin making it to this point, the end of the month, when we were supposed to have our matching funds. So we have, you know, $270,000 worth of debt that we actually owe to support on the ground who helped us get on the ballot. You may know that RFK spent $1 million just to get on the ballot in New York State. You know, we've confined that spending to about 270,000 as opposed to millions and millions. So, you know, this has been a very efficient and largely volunteer powered project, but we do have that money that we've got to pay now. And our staff as well has basically been making sacrifices and have deferred much of their salaries, you know, in a heroic way, thinking that we would just get to the end of the line. And now suddenly at the end of the line, you know, if the oligarchy and the empire was trying to design a way to sabotage a threat, this would be a great way to do it. Now, we don't have evidence yet that that's what's going on here. Maybe it's just some like little bureaucratic slip up by some low-level administrator. We don't know. So we're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna start in at court yet until we know exactly what the problem is. But it's going to take us a while to resolve this. I mean, the FEC does not move at the speed of light. So if our staff is going to eat, if you know, if the professional support that helped us get on the ballot, if they're going to eat, we need to pay them the money that we owe them. And if we're going to continue our forward momentum on the ballot, we need dollars to do that with. So I just really want to urge everyone who feels like we must have an anti-genocide, pro-worker, climate emergency campaign on the ballot, own this campaign, because if we don't all own it, it's going to kind of dry up.
That's right. It is in our hands, as you've said it before. It always has been in our hands. And as a people-funded, people-led, people-run party, your campaign operates exactly in the same way. And I hate to see the amazing team you put together continue to make more sacrifices. So I think the call is clear. Ron had a quick suggestion about going to our election offices and demanding that to be released. I think everything helps, but most importantly, just not having the campaign have to grind to a halt because they don't have the operating expenses is really critical. So thank you so much. Please drop in the chat when you're making a donations. That really matters. And I know there are a couple of policy questions that people are posting. Please check out Jill's platform. I'm going to drop it in the chat. It is super comprehensive. It's amazing. It's something we can all be proud of. Having just passed platform planks, I think, you know, Greens just have the best perspective on how policy can support our communities and create a people's economy. I think we might want to move on. We have a huge hour ahead because there's a lot to do. Just wanted to give our thanks to you, Jill. Again, I know you're counting every minute. I know you're booked for interviews. We really appreciate you making time for us. We hope you're going to do this again and in person. Come swing by California in the next few months, but focusing on ballot access states. We totally understand it. We've been here for you. California has always had it, and we're going to keep working for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I can't underscore how important what you're doing is, because whatever we do right now to get traction and momentum, it's kind of all for naught if that doesn't translate into something lasting. And I'm so grateful to Sean and Patrick for kicking this off here, you know, this vehicle for translating our momentum now into not only a stronger campaign here on the ground, but also a system for building this throughout the campaign across the country into an enduring structure for continuing to build power. Because however far we get, even if we get to the White House, even if we turn the White House into a greenhouse, we have to continue this organizing, and we need a vehicle to do that. And thank you so very much. And oh my goodness, I see that Nadia has just announced that she's going to match the next $500 worth of donations. Thank you so much, Nadia. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you to everyone. I see a note here from Brian. Good. So good to see you here, Brian. So appreciate your work to call out Empire and to fight back, and just all the really wonderful people who are here today. So appreciate everything you're doing, and really appreciate that we're not just working together until November. This is for the long haul. Empire is not just going to roll over and go away. You know, we need to make this permanent. So thank you so very much for all you're doing. And I'll turn it back to you, Nassim, and take it away. Thank you so much, Sean and Patrick and everybody. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Our best to your team.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay, thanks everybody for your comments, for your questions, for donations. Please take advantage of Nadia's offer. She's going to match $500, so we can do it 10 bucks at a time. I wanted to move on and introduce Sean Darty. Sean is our newly elected county council member in the newly reactivated Santa Cruz County Queen Party. He was an awesome candidate. He's going to tell you about his campaign, and he's going to talk about his experiences and really focus on community organizing and what it meant to him. Thank you so much. Sean, I can share any contact information you want in the chat, but go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. Yeah, as Nassim mentioned, I live in Santa Cruz City, California, in the county of Santa Cruz. I guess I've been a member of the Membership and Outreach Committee of the Green Party of California for, it's almost 2 years now. I've been a co-chair. I am currently the co-chair of the Membership and Outreach Committee. And what that means, what I think matters about that as far as this group is concerned, is that I have all the voter registration data that comes from the California Secretary of State. That means that I have the emails, phone numbers, and addresses of every registered voter, and we can see which elections they've participated in. So I'm hoping that I can bring that data into the Jill Stein campaign operation, and that we can use that to activate our network of Greens, and also reach out to some non-Greens and try to convince them to come over to our side. Yeah, and as Nassim mentioned, I did run as a Green for Congress in this most recent primary, the 2024 primary. It was a campaign that was focused on peace. Ultimately, the focus became very much centered on what's happening in Gaza and calling out that genocide. In my congressional district, CD19, we have he's taken a lot of money from AIPAC. Let's just say that much. I'm going to start my timer here. And I do want to talk about that a little bit because, as Nassim mentioned, I went through the process of reactivating my county, reforming a Green Party county council in Santa Cruz. And I really struggled with that at the beginning for maybe 8 months to probably 8 months. I couldn't get any traction. I couldn't even get my close activist friends to help me out. It wasn't until I started running for Congress and people could see that I was really fighting for something, and that there was it was just so obvious what the difference was between a person running for Congress as a Green versus the Democrat and the Republican. That's when I started getting traction. That's when people started switching their registration from Democrat or NPP to Green. And that's when they started signing my paperwork to help me get on the ballot for the Central Committee in March. In fact, the paperwork, because you have to gather signatures for a petition, the paperwork that I submitted to the county, about 50% of the signatures on that paperwork came from people who hadn't been a Green until they signed that. They switched the registration to Green in order to sign that. And I think there are obvious parallels with the Jill Stein campaign. I think there's a huge opportunity here. I think a lot of people are going to see the obvious contrast. As Jill said, there's only one choice for people if they're anti-genocide, pro-worker. And so I think we're going to be able to bring a lot of people into the Green Party through Jill Stein's campaign. And as she said, it matters that this is going to last. You know, my personal interest is in building up infrastructure that lives beyond just this election. So I'm going to be trying to contribute my knowledge with this data to the Jill Stein campaign. I do have past experience working with city and county elections. And in fact, I'm going to be adapting a tool I made during the COVID period for some of our ground game here in the city to the state of California. It's something called Colmizer. It's a phone banking tool, but the point is it's free. So we're going to be able to plug in all this contact information we have for registered voters in the state, plug it into this free tool and start, you know, putting our volunteers on this phone bank. So going back to growth, because I think all of us here today care about growing the Green Party, growing this larger movement. I just want to point out that the Green Party was in a state of decline post Bernie. I think that's widely understood that the 2016 Bernie campaign did a lot of damage to the Green Party. A lot of people switched registration to Democrat in order to vote for Bernie in the primary. But I was just looking at our data for October 2022 compared to May 2024, so about a year and a half. Our party grew by 6.5% in just a year and a half, and that's pretty incredible. The population of the state grew about 1%. So we're outpacing the state by 6 times. So I think that between, well, I don't want to get too grandiose with these concepts. I don't want to overstate it, but obviously we're growing, and from what I've seen on the ground, having run against the genocide in Gaza in Congressional District 19, seeing all the local activists that I activated here are won over to our side, and I mean some key activists who I consider key activists in my county. They've switched over to Green, and they're going to get involved with our county council. I think we're going to see the same thing with the Jill Stein campaign, and I'm very excited. I'm going to try to do everything I can to coordinate our efforts in the state. I actually submitted my resignation to my job last week. I've been there 9 years. My last day will be in just under a month. And at that point, I'll be able to really focus my time on helping Jill Stein's campaign in California. I think that's all I've got, Nassim.
Thank you, Sean. You're all in. I love
yeah, exactly.
I really appreciate that perspective. I think the question of why we need to do community organizing, face-to-face, local context in your own community is really clearly demonstrated by Sean, what you're saying. And I think, you know, this reminds me of what Jill always talks about, which is this lasting organizing revolution that the Green Party had always, you know, attempted to create, that it really can't happen in desperate groups for different reasons, for different issues, because what happens is this two-party monopoly actually will set each of those efforts and issues against The fact is that this in totality is an oppression against all of us. It is a class struggle rather than an issue struggle. So, but the way Sean's experience reflects is that when we talk about our values, which are always what the general public shares, to a really huge extent, it's when we get them to work with us and organize with us. So speaking of in community organizing and face-to-face, I want to introduce Dylan, who is with Jill's campaign, has done amazing workshops and he runs them all the time. I'm going to put some events link in the chat, but Patrick's going to tell us about community organizing, what's, how, and why as well. So I want to turn it to you, Patrick. I do have a link to provide at the end of your discussions about the resource thing that you have for resource document for people to use.
Thank you, Naseem. Thank you, Sean. I also want to give a couple of shout outs to some people here in the audience. Kelly, our campaign's deputy campaign manager, Kelly, is here. Thank you so much for being here, Kelly. Our field director, Justin Paglino, is also here. Some quality control, I'm sure. All right. Just kidding. It's so wonderful to meet each and every one of you. I also want to take the time to thank everyone who has donated. If you can donate $3, $5, $10, $24, we definitely appreciate it. And it's all for ballot access. It's all about giving people a real alternative in November outside of what we saw the other night between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Yikes. With that, I am going to share my screen because we have a presentation. It's on the short side. I condensed it from our traditional training so we can have more time for questions, because I feel like that's really a lot more important when it comes to local organizing. Is the national campaign does not have all the answers for your local organizing. We can support you in your local organizing. So let's get done. Kelly, you're amazing. Let's get this started. All right, can everyone see the screen, or someone do a thumbs up or a wave, or thank you. All right, Community Organizing 101. And I highly suggest that if you run into people who have never organized before and they want to help Jill or the Green Party just get their feet wet when it comes to community organizing, have them come to the Jill Stein website and RSVP for this whole presentation. I just trimmed it down so you guys don't get too bored and fall asleep on me. So what is community organizing? Like I said, a lot of this is going to be kind of common sense, but we're going to throw a lot of common sense together so we can build a movement that you can apply locally. So what is community organizing? It's bringing people together, just like everyone here today, to accomplish shared goals, to address common concerns. And this is absolutely essential to our movement for People, Planet, and Peace. This is absolutely essential to building the California Green Party. This is absolutely essential to taking on empire. And when I talk about community organizing, it's not just knocking doors. That's what a lot of people think at first, and that is a big component of it. But there is so much more to community organizing other than just knocking on doors. So mobilizing your local movement. Fair question is, how do I do that? Well, that starts with organizing local campaign events, attending local protests. I'm sure that some of you live in a city that has, county commissioners or city councils, or maybe you happen to be near the state capitol and they're holding a public hearing. Typically, you get about 3 minutes to speak your piece about whatever issue it is that's close to your heart. So let's say it's universal health care. Use your 3 minutes to talk about the necessity of universal healthcare and tie it to your local Green Party, tie it to the Jill Stein campaign, and people in the audience, they are going to remember you and your voice. And a lot of the times those meetings are being recorded and being broadcasted online or on public channels. So your voice is going really far, really fast. And that's a free way to get visibility. There's a there's a quote that people use a lot is don't tell people what you're going to do, just do it, which is fair. But in politics, you need to tell people what you're going to do. You need to do it and then talk to people about what you did, because it's going to encourage more people to join you. And it's going to bring us more leaders. You have to be the initial leader to create more leaders. That's how this works. That's what community organizing is. And don't be afraid to document your presence at these events and share it everywhere that you're comfortable with. There's so many different options. You got Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it today, Instagram, TikTok, the list goes on. I can't really remember all of them, if I'm being honest. Utilizing free low-cost methods to promote the campaign in your area. That's social media, that's posting flyers. I mean, just on street polls. Like, you don't have to do this fancy, right? Like, we want more, we need so many eyes on the name Jill Stein between now and November that we have to use every tool at our disposal. So if you go to the campaign website, we have some free resources, jillstein2024.com. At the top there, you'll see the word printables. Printables is a lot more fun to say than resources. So click on printables, and you're going to see a whole bunch of free resources there. Now, connecting with your community. We briefly touched on this a little bit. I'm going to go into a little more detail. Canvassing, door knocking. It is one of the best ways to reach our current supporters and find new Jill Stein supporters in your area. That is more of what Sean was talking about. That's more connecting with Nassim and your county chapters, your local chapters. They can get you that kind of data. The Jill Stein campaign does have supporter data that we can also offer as a supplement, but you should really be working with the Green Party of California to be getting that kind of information. But there is so much more that you can also do. You can attend and host local events. So let's say your local Green Party or state Green Party is hosting an event, just like the one you're at today. Show up. That's half the thing. That's half the fight, is showing up. Also, there are so many protests going on. As much as Gaza is something that we can't talk enough about, there are other issues that are impacting the American people, and there are events around that as well. I brought up universal healthcare earlier. The Supreme Court yesterday decided to make people with experiencing homelessness criminals. There are going to be events around that and making sure that housing for all is one day the law of the land. But it's not going to happen under Joe Biden, I'll tell you that much. Local farmers markets. These are a great way to bring visibility to not only the Green Party, but Jill Stein and down ballot races, right? Host letter to the editor workshops, right? Some people still like to do postcards. There's nothing wrong with doing postcards. Whatever way you want to contribute, do that. And don't wait for someone to come to you and say, will you do this for me? Take the lead, take the initiative. That's what we need right now, because we only have 100 and some odd days left. And we got to get as many people as possible to know what the Green Party is, who Jill Stein is, and what we stand for. Shows of support. This is sign waving at busy intersections. This is holding up a sign that says honk for peace. And let's say you do that every Saturday at 2 o'clock. Your consistency will be noticed, because someone's going to hear all these cars honking, and they're going to want to know why. And then all of a sudden, you're going to be making friends. And that's how these kind of events turn into grassroots, powerful, vocal organizing. The personal touch. I know what I'm about to say is very 1999, but call it supporters in your area. But don't just be like, hi, I'm Patrick. I also support Jill Stein. And then awkward silence ensues. have something to ask of them. Hey, I'm going to be going to the farmers market this weekend. Do you want to join me? I'm going to be holding up a Honk for Peace sign at 9th and Main this Saturday. Can you join me? Have something for them to do. Hey, I want to write a letter to the editor reminding people that the Green Party of California is the best alternative on the ballot. Email reminders. This is the condensed version that I'm giving you guys, and you're still going to forget about 80 or 90% of what I'm going to say. You need to send emails to people to remind them of what they are doing and what they said they're going to do. So make sure that you're keeping in contact. Getting those emails, getting those phone numbers is essential. And getting your eyes on the effort. Let's say you really just can't stand making phone calls. At least send a text message, because they may not respond, but they're going to look at that text message. Letters to the editor. I was talking about this a little bit earlier. We need to get Jill's name in the paper, because Joe Biden's already in there. Donald Trump's already in there. Robert Kennedy is buying his way onto not only ballots, but media coverage. Jill Stein is the only uncorrupted candidate running for president with a pathway to the White House. So we need to get her name in the paper and all over the press. Last but not least, promote on social media. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's the best free way to spread the word. And there's so many different options. You can do videos on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever Elon is doing today. Like, there's too many options not to be doing something. And then promote what you're doing, right? You deserve to give yourself a pat on the back for the work that you're doing, as well as giving people the opportunity to work alongside you, giving people the opportunity to improve what you are initiating, because you are just the starting shot, right? You are just the leader that's helping move mountains slowly but surely. We're trying to get more people to help us do this important work. So sharing your efforts with local area newspapers, blogs, magazines, social media. I keep going back to that because it is essential in 2024 to use social media as much as possible. Canva. Many of you probably know what Canva is. It is a free graphics creator. There's a lot of free templates on there. So if you're going to be going to the farmers market, create a graphic, create a poster, and have that information out and about in your community. Community calendars. You can do online events. The Jill Stein campaign soon, not yet, but soon, will have an option for you to submit your own local events. So when you go to the events page on our website, jillstein2024.com/events, you can go all the way to the bottom and it says post your own event. It's not there now if you check. I promise it will be there. It's just not there today. You go there and you put in, like, I'm going to be doing letters to the editor this Thursday evening. And, we're going to get Jill's name in the paper. We're going to talk about the Green Party. We're going to talk about how the Green Party has a better candidate for Congress or governor. And, we're just constantly spreading the word. And that means also on Facebook too, because they're already complaining about everything on the local Facebook groups anyway. I know some of you may be in your local community Facebook groups. Someone's always saying something. You might as well say something too. Not everyone's going to agree with what you have to say. That's okay, because we're just talking until someone hears us, right? Because everyone else, they have the money to be heard. We have to talk until we're heard. So we got to use every avenue at our disposal. Local Facebook groups, Nextdoor app, social media, post those flyers, especially like college campuses, community calendars. Sometimes they have them like in the walkway when you go into a grocery store, or even online. Your local newspaper probably has one that you can use. Create your team. Don't do everything on your own. I know it's hard because, like the expression goes, if you want something done right, do it yourself. It's not about doing it right. It's about doing it together and moving forward as a movement. So here's the thing. You want to collaborate with local like-minded organizations, groups, individuals. That means showing up at those city council meetings, at those protests. That means Showing up to those group meetings. If you're not already a part of the Green Party, become a member of the Green Party, show up to those meetings. Like-minded organizations, especially nonprofit organizations, a lot of them hold the same values and believe the same things that we do. They can't endorse Jill Stein. They can't endorse the Green Party, but what they can do is provide you with a massive new resource of potential supporters, voters, and that is networks that you can use in future campaigns to amplify your message today and tomorrow, increasing your impact. Don't be afraid to delegate work to others who can help. Again, when we're calling up people, have something to ask them to do. If they don't like talking to people, have them do data entry. If they do like talking to people, ask them to go to this upcoming event and remind people that the Green Party is not only an alternative, but the solution. So pool your local resources, expertise, build those networks to strengthen your community organizing. Evaluating and adapting. This is a lot of common sense, but I'm going to say it out loud anyway. I talk to a lot of people each and every day, and normally it's about the same things. But the way that I say it changes based on the reaction that I get. If I say something in a new way that creates a better reaction, something that's going to stick with somebody, I'm going to adapt how I talk about a certain issue, because I want it to not only keep the conversation going, but I want it to also produce results on the ground. And how you speak, where you speak, when you speak is super important. So collect the data either internally or write down some notes every time you're going out to community organize. Also, just ask for feedback. You can ask for feedback in the moment. Especially if you're going out with a friend, like, did that work? Was that a good example? Like, evaluate, adapt, and implement your passion into the script, right? Everyone has an internal script, and sometimes we just want to like hit the statistic and make sure that we don't forget this data point. No. Your passion and your emotion is going to scream a lot louder than any Gallup poll result. So just be mindful of that. And celebrate your successes. You are amazing. People need to know that you're amazing. And when you get home, like, I helped make the world a better place today. I gave people a chance at a real democracy. I told the empire where they can shove it. And that is huge. So don't forget what you're doing each and every day matters not only today, but for decades to come. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but when the Green Party has a really good idea, some people like to take it. You are changing the world, maybe not today, but you are changing the world. Also, consider the Green Party and Jill Stein campaign platforms and how they relate to the current events in your community. So you want to meet your moment. So you look at the local newspaper, or you're probably scrolling the newspaper on your phone now, and you see that the front page headline is there's a lot of crime in the community. There's a lot of corruption at City Hall. There's a natural disaster, and the cleanup is just taking forever, and they're not getting enough federal grant money to get the job done. Match the moment to your message, and then connect it to the Green Party and Jill Stein, because people want change. They do. But they have been told for decades that you only get two options for president. They walk into Walmart, they walk into Target, and they expect 27 different options for shampoo and conditioner. But they've been told for decades, you get two options for president. So give people the opportunity to learn. Let's keep going. Connecting to campaign support. Every Monday for our ballot access leads, this is really in states where we're still getting signatures, trying to make sure that Jill or the Green Party is getting on the ballot. That's every Monday. The campaign does something every day. Jill is doing something every day, just like you guys are, fighting the good fight every day. This is a shorter, condensed version of the Community Organizing 101 training that we do. And if you are a nerd like me, I highly suggest that you attend the full thing, because there's spreadsheets and data. It's beautiful. But we do Community Organizing 101 each Wednesday and Saturday. Phone Bank for Jill, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So let's say you're at a door. Let's say you're at a community event and someone's like, I really don't want to talk to people out in the community. I really don't want to knock doors, but I'll help like get people to go vote. I'll help people to sign up a form that the campaign needs help with. Have them do some phone banking. That's an excellent way that they can still participate. Same thing. If you got an introvert who doesn't like being out in public, I get it. Have them write a letter to the editor. We do a workshop on how to write a letter to the editor every Sunday. Volunteer orientations also Thursdays and Sundays. And then let's say you or someone that you're talking to just has like this really random question and you just can't find the answer to it on the campaign website or the Green Party website. We have office hours Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Come in, ask your question, the campaign will be there to support you. Also, the events page on the website. Go there often. It's always being updated. And then one of the best things that we can do with our community organizing initially, I'm going to show you a little example here. I'm going to unblur my background so you can see it. Get yourself a clipboard. If you don't have one, you can go to the $1.25 store. Thank you, Biden. Get one and then print this out from the website. This is that printables page. And it has QR codes on the back. So let's say someone doesn't have a pen. Let's say you don't have this volunteer sign up form that you can find on our website. But let's say you didn't print one of these out. Tape this to a back of your clipboard. Have them sign up to volunteer using their phone. Have them donate from their phone. Have them pledge to stop genocide from their phone or host a house party. 2024 is too convenient to do things to not do them, right? Like we have ways to get people connected. Let's keep going. And I'm going to be showing you these again here, but we have campaign resources that you can use right now. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I believe in dollar store organizing. So if you don't have color ink or you don't want to use color ink, don't. But print it, go to the library, print these out. These are great, helpful tools, especially if you're tabling at events. Let's keep going right here. So right here, join the Pro-Worker Anti-War Climate Action Campaign. These are great materials that you can use, whether you're knocking on doors or you're at an event, farmer's market, what have you. Also, it's just great to have a few of these like in your bag or in the car, because you never know when one of these conversations are going to come up. And every time you hear someone say, ugh, I can't believe Biden. Ugh, I can't believe Trump. Well, actually, can I show you something? Have it ready. I just showed you this on a clipboard. You don't have to put it on a clipboard. I think it's smart to put it on a clipboard, but print this out. You got QR codes right there. It's going to help people, make it super simple. And it's a lot less time for you, right? Because it's going to be on their phone, it's going to be on their tablet, and you can move on to the next person that you're trying to connect with. Well, they are, making a $25 donation. And I'm sorry to do this, but if we haven't already met the $500 match, if you can make a donation, I know Jill and our entire movement would really appreciate that. Let's keep going. Just Say No to Genocide Joe. This is a great one for college campuses, community calendars, and guerrilla organizing. Just put this on street poles, right? Put this near busy intersections, especially like downtown where there's a lot of bars, right? Like people, like younger folks, they have had it. Give them a way to get out of it. Let's keep going. This is that volunteer sign up form that I showed you. If you don't already have one with the Green Party or your local chapter, you can use this one here. Let's keep going. Door hangers. I know that this is a little old school, but door hangers are great. It reminds people that there is another option. People, planet, peace, what our principles are, and most importantly, our website. Because these are really great for, this is really great for what I call working class first organizing. So in each and every city, each and every state, each and every county, we want to be making phone calls, we want to be sending text messages, and we want to be out in the community. In counties that experience a higher rate of poverty, we need to be doing working class first campaigning, working class first organizing. And that means that we are intentionally leaving these materials in places where they are going to be utilized. So we're talking about community organizations. We're talking about making sure that these folks have access to updating or registering to vote for the first time. Because a lot of times when we're talking about working class first counties with higher rates of poverty, they have disengaged from the electoral system. We are representing their interests, right? So I'm going to go back to the Supreme Court decision that we just heard, one of the many, but the one related to criminalizing camping on public property when a person is experiencing homelessness. That is already a population that is more than likely disengaged with the electoral system. We need to remind them that they have people fighting for them and that they can fight for themselves. I 100% agree with voting for your own self-interest. What do I mean by that? I mean an economic bill of rights, a living wage, housing, healthcare, access to food, clean water, and air. You voting for your personal self-interest is voting for everyone's self-interest, if you are working class or middle class. The people who are high up, they're already connected. They're doing great. They don't need any more help. They got attorneys and lobbies. They need help. We need help, and we need to use our voice in unison to translate that call to action to results. We have posters as well. Everyone loves a poster. There's also a black and white version, so you don't have to use all the green. The green one's nice, though. I do have to admit. Campaign contacts. My name is Patrick. I'm the Deputy Field Director for the Jill Stein campaign. I love this job. I love getting to meet amazing individuals like you and everyone else here today. You can contact me at patrick@jillstein2024.com. If you decide, screw that guy, he's annoying, you can email my boss. His name is Justin Paglino, justin@jillstein2024.com, or you can just message the field team. I hate to break it to you, that's just going to go to me and Justin at the same time, but you're more than welcome to use it. With that, we need leaders. We need you. We need to make a real impact, not just today, tomorrow, all the way to November, but even after. And this is how we do it, right? It's the being consistent, being constant, and just keeping people in check, keeping the duopoly in check, keeping the empire not only in check, but we will defeat them. And with that, Nassim, I don't know if it's okay, but maybe if Justin or Kelly, if they're still here, I can't see the screen, if they wanted to throw a comment in there, yeah, I'm done sharing here.
That would be so awesome if both Justin, Kelly, you wanted to say a few words about how the campaign is going. How are you feeling? Kelly is on with Jill, traveling around, so
are you hungry?
Hearing a lot from people.
Yeah. Yeah, I have been on the road for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 months. I've had, I have breaks in between, brief breaks in between. And it's been just a huge endeavor in getting the word out in the target communities. We see the Muslim and the Arabic communities in particular as having the moral clarity to meet this moment. I mean, and so we've been really working on the depth and the breadth of those relationships, and it has been really just so inspiring for grassroots movement building, to see people mobilizing around this campaign, because we are meeting the moment and we match people's values around this. People have a lot of clarity. in this moment about wanting to stop the genocide, and recognizing the intersectionality of all of these issues, like what is happening in Gaza is not staying in Gaza when you're talking about the normalization of the slaughter of innocent people. So that's been really important work. And the world such as it is, I mean, we all saw the debate the other night. It's just terrifying. And so, like, the other thing that is so important is, like, we're building this incredible community. I have met the most remarkable people all around this country who just care so deeply about these issues. And it's grueling and inspiring work. And it's also very important work in that, you know, beyond building community, we're going through this like very rigorous, deeply unjust, rigged process of just trying to get her name on the ballot, trying to make sure that she's seen, trying to make sure that the message of opposition is heard. And we are being blocked at every turn. There is unprecedented disruption coming from the Democratic Party. It is in every facet of our organizing, and people who have been doing this for many years have never seen a kind of the convergence of all of the dirty tricks at once. It's so shocking. It's like we're in the midst of political warfare. Our political system has been just like totally weaponized against the people. And so it is just, it's a very intense campaign because we're doing it for the right reasons. Like, there are serious problems and we need to meet them, to move through them together and in community with others who hold these shared values, because that has to be our moral compass. So it's very meaningful to be in the room here tonight with you, and thank you for, you know, having green spaces and doing this work. It's so important. It's so important that we raise our voices against the atrocities that continue unfolding before our eyes. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Really, really moving words. You are meeting people where they are. And as much as it's inspiring, I could see it can take a toll on everybody's psyche. It was interesting, I think, when you see people who are coming together that would have never seen themselves where they are now, turning into freedom fighters, turning into activists for peace. And these are folks that don't consider themselves activists, because it is dawning on most people that what we've stood for, what those leftist fringe activists stood for, are just simply human values. And it's what every single person deep in their heart wants. So in a way, it brings you a little inspiration in humanity and our values. Thank you.
Yeah.
Justin, are you here to share a couple of words, and then we'll take some questions?
I'm here. Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Patrick. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Thank you all. Yeah, you know, it's so disheartening to see the state of our politics in this country, but you know, it's all the more reason that it's so important that we do what we're doing. We're in the right place. We're doing the right thing. We're doing what needs to be done. And the more that each of us can do, the more we'll accomplish together. It's not easy. It's an uphill thing that we're attempting to do here. We're trying to change politics in America because what the current system is putting out in terms of outcomes is just unacceptable for survival of the planet, for peace, for having a livable existence, free of toxins, and where people can have housing. I mean, there are so many that we're just failing in so many ways, but we're doing the right thing. And so all these kinds of all the energy you can put into this campaign, that you can put into the Green Party during and after this campaign, is time really well spent, uh, with the time that, the limited time we all have here on Earth to try and make a difference. This is, I really believe, the way to spend that time and try to make a difference. Um, you know, the two-party system is never going to be functional. We need multi-party democracy. We need ranked choice voting, proportional representation. It's not going to come from the two parties that benefit from not having ranked choice voting. They're going to keep their duopoly until we force the issue by growing third parties. And I shouldn't even call them third parties. I'm trying to break myself of that habit. Growing more than the two parties that we have. Um, and what Kelly said, I wanted to touch on about how we've seen a lot of people coming into the campaign who are fed up with Democrats for different reasons. But one of the biggest ones this year, of course, has been the genocide in Gaza. And those people come from all different walks of life, but a lot of them are from the Muslim American or Arab American communities. And as a candidate for Senate, I've seen this here in Connecticut. Um, Reach out to these groups, try to form relationships with these groups. Like here in Connecticut, there's like the Connecticut Palestine Alliance. Look for these groups, try to reach out to these people and try and have Zoom meetings, get to know them face to face, see if you can get invited to come to their events. I've gotten invited now as a candidate. It helps that I'm a candidate for office, I think, but even if not, you can still get invitations to speak about as like a proxy or surrogate for Jill's campaign, or the Green Party. But it helps if you're a candidate, I think. Uh, I've been invited to speak at a couple of different mosques and kind of honored and humbled to be invited into that space. And but finding people who are finding people who are ready to get to work. And that's what we need in the Green Party, is more people who are really have energy and are motivated to get to work and spend time on this, hit the pavement. You guys have ballot access in California, which is great. We don't have that yet in Connecticut. And but whether you're campaigning or working for ballot access, either way, you need people. But I've met some just wonderful people. I was at a mosque yesterday, and the imam was talking about, and I think this happens in mosques every Friday all around the country. They're talking about politics. They talk about politics. They talk about, what kind of choice is this between one genocidal party and another genocidal party? This is no choice at all. This is important. They're telling their I'm not sure the right term. It's not congregation, is it? I'm not sure the right term. But they're telling the people in the worshipers at the mosque, this is important. You need to be involved. You need to be involved. And they're listening. And I see lots of people coming to us, the Green Party of Connecticut, saying, how can we help? What can we do? And we say, here's what you can do. We need you to carry these petitions. I mean, the imam I met was from Jabalia refugee camp originally, where he was born in Gaza, and then he studied biochemistry, and he came to America at a pretty young age, 18, and now he's this community leader that brings people together in his community, and it was just humbling and a great honor to be welcomed, as I said. So, this is really just happens by the coincidence of fate this year to be really where we are finding a lot of people who are ready to come to us and join us. And I hope that will continue with other communities. We have we're organizing by communities. We were having a meeting today talking about this, where we're organizing environmental activists for Jill, Mothers for Jill, Fathers for Jill, Women for Jill, Gen X for Jill, so on and so on. All kinds of different communities that are not being served by the major parties. And we want to have these communities come together and feel that, you know, they're stronger together, and they're stronger when they support a party that really has their interests at heart. So look out for more information and about how you can join the communities for Jill that we're organizing. I think that's an exciting project that we're launching right now. But anyway, yeah, thank you again, all. I think I'll stop there. It's great to see you again, Nassim. It's been a while.
So good to see all of you from Jill's campaign. I think, it makes me nostalgic. I worked with these awesome people earlier on in the campaign where it was really just starting from scratch. Patrick, I know you want to get a couple of questions answered, but we did have a couple of people who are very interested in connecting with the campaign more. So I'm asking folks, especially with their own states. So I'm asking folks to try to join one of your volunteer orientation meetings. They're all listed, and Patrick can share the Slack channel where you can get involved. One of the best ways to connect with people who are Jill supporters in your own state could be through there. But of course, we're talking on something that's even more accessible to you, which is just look around you, right in your own community, in the people you already work with and you already connect with on values. And one last thing I wanted to mention before we take a couple of questions is that both Sean and I are liaisons, California Green Party liaison to the campaign, to the Jill Stein 2024 campaign. What that means is if you're specifically interested in campaigning for Jill, not necessarily like joining our committee or doing something like different with the party, you come to us. I've dropped our emails, but I'll drop them there again. And what you're going to see is even if you're from a different state and you go to Jill's website and you click on ballot access, if you go there, what the campaign is doing is putting liaison names and contact information in the state. It's a cool interactive map. I'll drop it in soon, but you can see what state your state is in terms of ballot access, and if they need you to immediately start collecting signatures, or if like in California, we're sitting pretty, but we got the actual organizing work that we have to do. So I'll drop those contacts and also the ballot access map. So Patrick, go ahead. Should we take some questions or?
Yeah, we can take a couple of questions. Absolutely.
Awesome. Did you have anything else to add?
I just to speak briefly on what Justin was mentioning, because there was a question about it in the chat earlier related to Communities for Jill. We do have a core team of community coordinators who are reaching out to folks who are interested in leading those communities, because these are all 100% volunteer-led efforts, right? We're all super busy doing things, living life, taking care of family. So we got to make sure that these communities can be functional, and that takes a motivated and capable lead. So we are in the process of doing that. I would imagine that some of these communities will be ready, in the next few weeks. But if you are someone who is interested in serving in that kind of capacity for the campaign, reach out. Patrick at jillstein2024.com or Field at jillstein2024.com. Justin's here as well. Please feel free to reach out. We're always looking for creative ways for people to jump on in and support the campaign. With that, I would love to answer, 2 or 3 questions that people might have.
Let's see if anybody has a show of hands. You can just raise your hand or use the reaction.
Yeah, so the Slack link is gonna, sorry, I just saw the chat. We're gonna politely ask that people join a campaign event. So jillstein2024.com/events, RSVP for one of those, because then we can better facilitate our folks getting on Slack that way.
Awesome. Any questions for Patrick? Maybe on the details that he's shared. If you make sure that you have saved the chat, there are a couple of links in there. I'll keep dropping them in. They are, there is a document that he's prepared. It's a resource or community organizing for people, planet, and peace. It's a Google Doc, so I have shared that and I'll keep sharing it. Now I'm just gonna, oh, awesome. Thank you, Justin, who just shared the ballot access page. That's the interactive map where you may be able to find contacts with your state's representative. And I have Peggy on stack and then Terrence. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. We've got great presentations. Fantastic. So one question is the events that are on pretty much daily on Jill's, the campaign trainings, are they at what time, West Coast time? Are they at 4 East, 4 our time, 7 West Coast always?
Always. Yep. So unless something really, unusual happens, we don't change the times.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if we RSVP, is it a Slack channel or is it a Zoom meeting? Like, I don't.
It'll be a Zoom meeting.
Okay, good.
You'll get a link to a Zoom.
Okay, great. And then I don't know if you saw in the chat, and Nassim, what was it called? You know, the circles, sorry, airplanes.
Profile frame, like a Facebook.
The Facebook frame, yeah, that it's like, I'm with Jill. Is there an easy way to make one, or is there one already made that could be shared?
For someone who is great at graphics, I'm sure that it's easy for them. I am not one of those people, but what I can do is bring it up to our graphics person. That was a suggestion, because I don't know of a like a Facebook kind of frame right now, and I think it'd be a great idea. Yeah, so we can let Elena know that a request like that has been made.
Yeah, I mean, once that if someone finds out about like Nassim or Nadia, seems like, they'll share it with a bunch of our own county Facebook pages. And once that's shared, then we can it'll explode, we hope. Over.
Thank you.
And we can share it also on the GPCA Facebook page, so.
Looks like Terry is next.
Here you go.
It's okay. Yeah, great job for the team here. Just a question, it may be too late in the game, I understand, but could Dr. Stein, could a position on cryptocurrency be formulated of some sort, or maybe just on blockchain technology as it's decentralized? Just a thought. I know it may be too late in the game to figure all that out, but.
So I don't know if they are going to be revisiting the platform anytime soon, but I can make sure that this request is brought to their attention, because it's not the first time I've heard this question. So I at a minimum, I'll let the team know that people are asking. And I don't know if that will turn into a policy that's on the website anytime soon, but want to make sure it's at least heard.
Oh,
Thank you. I have Ashley on stack. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm Ashley. I'm in Hollywood. I am from Seattle. I protested at the Battle of Seattle back in '99, so I'm very familiar with the Green Party, but I had tuned it out for a long time because I got very sick of our political state and the rhetoric, and it was just, you couldn't get to the truth. And something I wanted to mention and also ask the question too is, we've basically been gaslit for so long, right? And I'm actually someone who was in like 7 years under this kind of, in a relationship with someone who did this, and have learned so much. I think a lot of the conversations that are brought up, especially because I'm on social media a lot, so I'm constantly creating content for Jill Stein, or I'm going to the chats to, just insert the thing and say, hey, guess what? We have options. But I think like so many people just reject it automatically, or think that there's, there's another agenda, or like what's hidden in the shadows that we don't know. And so I always want to, like, I just wanted to mention that that's a huge barrier, is that we haven't been able to access the truth. It is so hard. And since I've kind of rejoined the mission of truth, and realizing how much time it actually takes just for one topic, because then you go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this, and it just keeps going on these tangents. So part of what I'm doing is kind of sharing little bite-sized pieces of media or pieces of the platform, even just to raise the question and have it be non-confrontational, just to almost get people to ask the question to themselves, so that they can say, do I know this? Do I agree with that? And on that topic, one thing I was thinking is, I don't know, or what I was wondering is, you mentioned a graphic artist, and I'm wondering if there is kind of like in that chat or in the communities that you're building, if there's one for like digital marketing, digital outreach, because that's really where I have a ton of experience, and I can help to contribute, create content, or create strategies for different platforms and reaching like a big audience. So I don't know if there's an outlet for that, but I'd like to be part of it.
Absolutely. Ashley, if you could put your email in the chat or direct message me. First, to answer your question, we don't have a community that's focused on that right now. That doesn't mean that we can't have one in the future, but I will definitely connect you with our graphic and video extraordinaire. And you guys can possibly work together on creating even more amazing work to help Jill Stein. And thank you for everything that you're doing to promote Jill and the platform. And it's huge and it's important. The social media is as important as phones were for political campaigns 30 years ago. So your contribution, just like everyone else's here, is significant and important. So thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah, well, we should be trending. We should be viral.
Exactly. I wanted to remind everyone, since people are leaving, we've come to the end of the presentation, but I want to make sure that everyone remembers to please save the chat. There's a lot of great links there, and I'm not sure everybody was able to catch that. Contact information for Patrick, for Sean, for myself are there. So save the chat as soon as you can. And wanted to give a shout out to Ashley for doing the work you do, and make sure you share your social handle here. You did, so more people can follow you. And if you have the bandwidth and time, I love it that you can work with a campaign, because everything you create and the content you create, we get to use. But if you have the bandwidth and time, you were interested in working with the state party, I am the coordinator of our communications committee, and we're always looking for content creation and more social media work. So check my contact information. Eric had a comment about cryptocurrency as well. Let's end with him. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, just quickly on that. I've been studying cryptocurrency and Bitcoin since 2011. Definitely email me, because it's very dicey territory and I can give you advice. Maybe we don't have time for this, but I wanted to ask what we do about shadow banning. Do you have a link where we can go to figure out how to deal with it?
I personally do not.
Okay. If you guys can put something out, any advice paper on how to overcome shadow banning, which is practically impossible, that would be great.
There was one other suggestion, a whole bunch of great suggestions, actually. And before I forget, someone asked if there is a list of all these problems that Jill is facing and all the hurdles that they're throwing her way. So if any of you, Ashley, if you have created this kind of content before, a quick list and a graphic would be really great. A lot of people I talk to have no idea that the Democratic Party spends millions hiring lawyers to get the Green Party off state ballots all the time. So that's why this kind of effort, doubling effort, and thousands of dollars all the time, because even in states where you would be on the ballot,
there's another recent example real quick. I know that people are trying to head out. But if you had $375,000, I don't know what you would do with it, but I know me personally, I wouldn't be putting that into a super PAC to try to get independent candidates and candidates that aren't Democrats and Republicans off the ballot. And two billionaires who are supporting Biden created a super PAC called Clear Choice. They are the only two funders of this super PAC. One gave a $250,000 and another gave $125,000 for the sole purpose of making it harder for us to have a real democracy. And it's just, so it's laughable when you see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris talk about the need for the rich and powerful to pay more taxes because they're taking their money to reduce our democracy. Sorry, just wanted to throw that out there.
Very good point. And you know, that's nothing to them. That's chump change. That's not even the accounting error in their portfolios, right?
And that's like half the problem, right? that it's nothing for them and it does everything to us. Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Save the chat. Please stay in touch. You have contact information for all of us. I want to extend my huge thanks to both Sean and Patrick for doing this. I can't even understand how you keep all of your events. You guys are doing an amazing job at the campaign, and I'm hoping California volunteers can really connect together and take advantage of the amazing work you're doing. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Remember.